Welcome back, dear students. We were discussing about rheumatic fever and John's criteria we were discussing. So, in that, we already saw there are minor manifestations or major manifestations, that is major criteria, minor manifestations, that is minor criteria, and essential criteria. So, we discussed that there are major manifestations like polyarthritis, carditis, Sydenham's chorea, erythema marginatum, and subcutaneous nodules. So now we can see minor manifestations. So there will be a history of previous rheumatic fever or evidence of pre-existing rheumatic heart disease. So there are chances of pre uh, pre-existing rheumatic heart disease or a previous history of rheumatic fever that can be there, or any streptococcal infection that is already we discussed. The second one is arthralgia. So pain in one or more joints without the evidence of inflammation. So there will be pain on the joints, that is arthralgia, like tenderness or limited movements can be noted. The third manifestation is fever. So temperature greater than 100 degree Fahrenheit or 38 degree Celsius. So we can notice fever, and other laboratory abnormalities can be seen like ESR level will be elevated erythrocyte sedimentation rate, positive C-reactive protein, elevated white blood cell count, and ECG changes can be noted like prolonged PR interval. So these are the minor manifestations or minor criteria according to John's criteria. The next criteria is essential criteria. So this is very essential for the diagnosis, that is preceding group A streptococcal infection, that is documented by a positive throat culture or elevated streptococcal antibodies or history of scarlet fever. So these are the essential criteria, that is a preceding infection with streptococcus. So we have discussed about the John's criteria. So that is, there are major manifestations or major criteria, minor manifestations or minor criteria, and essential criteria. So now we can discuss about diagnostic evaluation. So usually it is diagnosed clinically through the use of John's criteria from the American Heart Association. So already we discussed in detail about John's criteria, and it is used for the diagnosis of rheumatic fever. So according to John's criteria, if there is presence of two major manifestations or one major and two minor manifestations along with supporting evidence of a recent streptococcal infection, that is essential criteria, we can make a diagnosis of rheumatic fever. That is two major manifestations plus essential criteria, or one major plus two minor plus essential criteria. So this gives the picture of rheumatic fever. So this is the major diagnostic method which we use for diagnosis of rheumatic fever, and along with that ECG can be done to evaluate the PR interval, because we know that there will be prolonged PR interval or any other changes can be noticed with the ECG changes. Then group A streptococcal culture and or anti-streptolysin O titer can be done to detect the streptococcal antibodies from recent infection. Then usually we will do chest x-ray for cardiomegaly, pulmonary congestion or edema. So these are the major investigations and laboratory findings. We already discussed the same, like high ESR will be the anemia, leukocytosis, elevated C-reactive protein, ASO titer will be elevated, and throat culture will be giving a positive sign of streptococcal infection. So next we can see the management of rheumatic fever. Usually management is done in 4 steps. So the step 1 is primary prevention, that is eradication of streptococci. The step 2, that is anti-inflammatory treatment with aspirin or steroids. Step 3, it is supportive management and management of complications. Step 4 is on secondary prevention, that is prevention of recurrent attacks of rheumatic fever. So we can discuss each step in detail. So primary prevention, the aim of primary prevention is prevent the first attack of rheumatic fever. So the first attack of rheumatic fever is prevented by the primary prevention by identifying all patients with a streptococcal throat infection and treating them with penicillin. So we have to identify all sore throat patients and we have to treat the streptococcal infections with the penicillin administration. But theoretically it is very simple. In practice it is very difficult and not feasible because many infections are inapparent, or if apparent are not brought to the attention of health services. Because when many of the people, when they feel a pharyngitis, they may not come to hospitals. They may take some saline gargle or any other remedies, and they will be treating by home itself. So locate streptococcal infection is very difficult, and viable approaches concentrate on high risk group, that is school age children, because 5 to 15 years is a high incidence time for children in rheumatic fever. So approach school children for any sore throat and identify the condition and treat it with penicillin. Surveillance for streptococcal pharyngitis, so this can be done in hospital, in schools, so that early identification of the cases can be done, so preventing the rheumatic fever. So if we are finding anybody with streptococcal infection, the primary prevention of rheumatic fever, that is prevention of occurrence of rheumatic fever. The first attack of rheumatic fever is done with the agents like benzathine penicillin G. Intramuscularly it is given. Penicillin V, that is orally we are giving. It's the least expensive method. And for individuals allergic to penicillin, erythromycin and ethyl succinate can be administered. So these are the recommended drugs according to American Heart Association for prevention of rheumatic fever in the primary prevention. In the step 2, once the rheumatic fever has occurred, the anti-inflammatory treatment has to be initiated. Like arthritis only, if the person is having arthritis only, we can administer aspirin like 75 to 100 milligram per kilogram per day, give as 4 divided doses for 6 weeks. And carditis, if it is there, prednisolone can be administered. That is a drug of choice. That is 2 to 2.5 milligram per kilogram per day. Give as 2 divided doses for 2 weeks. And taper over 2 weeks, and while tapering add aspirin 75 milligram per kilogram per day for 2 weeks and continue aspirin alone 100 milligram per kilogram per day for another 4 weeks. So this is the treatment which is done, anti-inflammatory treatment, if there is arthritis and if there is carditis is present. Step 3 is on supportive management and management of complications. So the supportive management and complication prevention can be done with bed rest, treatment of congestive cardiac failure with digoxin and diuretics. Treatment of chorea can be done with diazepam or haloperidol, and rest to joints and supportive splinting can be done to prevent other injuries in the joints. So this is the step 3, supportive management and management of complications. Next is the step 4, that is secondary prevention of rheumatic fever. So recurrent attacks can happen with the rheumatic fever. So that prevention can be done with benzathine penicillin G intramuscularly, or penicillin V, that is 250 milligram per day, twice a day orally. Or if the person is allergic to penicillin or sulfadiazine, we can administer erythromycin 250 milligram twice daily orally. So this is also recommended by AHA. This is a step 4. And according to the category of patients, the duration of this recurrent prevention can be done, prophylaxis can be done. Duration may be varying. So rheumatic fever without carditis, at least 5 year or until 18 years, whichever is longer. So that is the treatment duration for prevention of secondary rheumatic fever. And the second condition, rheumatic fever with carditis and heart disease. Okay, in that at least 10 years since last residual episode and at least until age 40 years. Sometimes lifelong prophylaxis may be required. Rheumatic fever with carditis but no residual heart disease. In that condition, 10 year or well into adulthood, whichever is longer. Then more severe valvular diseases or post-valve surgery cases, lifelong, this secondary rheumatic fever prophylaxis should be continued. So this is about the each steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3 and step 4 management of rheumatic fever. So the complications are there like congestive heart failure, pericarditis, pericardial effusion, permanent damage to the aortic or mitral valve, possibly requiring valve replacement. The nursing assessment includes assess for signs of cardiac involvement by auscultation of the heart for murmur and cardiac monitoring for prolonged PR interval, monitor pulse for 1 full minute to determine heart rate, assess temperature for elevation, observe for involuntary movements, stick out tongue or smile, garbled or hesitant speech when asked to recite numbers to the or the ABCs, then hyperextension of the wrist and fingers when trying to extended arms. Assess child's ability to feed self, dress and do their activities if chorea or arthritis is present. Then assess pain level using scale appropriate for the child's age. Visual analog scale can be used. Assess parents' ability to cope with illness and care of children. Assess need for homeschooling while patient is on bed rest. So these are the nursing assessments which can be done for a rheumatic fever. Nursing interventions include decreased cardiac output related to carditis. So in that situation, we have to explain to the child and family the need for bed rest during the acute phase and as long as congestive heart failure is present. In mild cases, light indoor activity is allowed. In severe cases, organize care so that the child will not have to exert self and will have hours of uninterrupted rest. Maintain cardiac monitoring if indicated and administer course of antibiotics as directed. Be alert to adverse effects like nausea, vomiting, GI distress, etc. Administer medications for congestive heart failure as directed like digoxin or diuretics. Monitor blood pressure, intake and output and heart rate. So these are the interventions for decreased cardiac output related to carditis. Acute and chronic pain related to arthritis. So in that situation, administer anti-inflammatory medications, analgesics and antipyretics as directed. So monitor the signs of aspirin toxicity like tinnitus, nausea, vomiting, headache. Monitor for signs of corticosteroid usage like GI distress, acne, weight gain, emotional disturbances, long-term effects such as rounded face, ulcer formation, and decreased resistance to infection. Administer all anti-inflammatory medications with food to reduce GI injury and be aware that anti-inflammatories may not alter the course of myocardial injury. Teach family to importance of maintaining dosage schedule, continuing medications until all signs and symptoms of ARF have gone, and tapering the dose as directed by healthcare provider. Assess the child with positioning for comfort and protecting inflamed joints. Suggest diversional activities that do not require use of painful joints. So, risk for injury related to chorea, use padded side rails if chorea is severe. Assist with the feeding and other fine motor activities as needed. Assist with the ambulation if the person is weak. Avoid the use of straws and sharp utensils if chorea involves the face. Then make sure that the child consumes nutritious diet with recommended vitamins, proteins and calories. Be patient if speech is affected and offer emotional support for the person. Protect the child from stress. Administer phenobarbital or other medication for chorea as directed. Observe for drowsiness also. So family education and health maintenance teach the regarding administration of medications, encourage all family and household members to be screened for streptococcus and receive appropriate treatment. Instruct on additional prophylaxis for endocarditis with dental procedures and surgery as indicated. Encourage following activity restrictions, resuming activity gradually and resting whenever tired. Encourage keeping appointments for follow up evaluation by the cardiologist and other healthcare providers. Advise the parents that child cannot return to school until healthcare provider assesses that all disease activity is gone. Parents may need to discuss with teachers how the child can catch up with school work. Instruct on follow up with usual healthcare provider for immunizations, well child evaluations, hearing and vision screening, and other health maintenance needs. Provide general health education about early identification and treatment, seeking for any possible streptococcal infection, fever, sore throat, and we have to see complaints with 10 to 14 days of antibiotics can be greatly reduce the risk of ARF and other post streptococcal sequelae. So this is about the acute rheumatic fever. Okay, thank you very much for your kind listening. Thank you. Have a nice day.